you get some money, buddy.
This is the most obnoxious thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Let's face it, we are living in a world full of inflation. It's blindingly obvious to most these days that the prices of goods and services are outrageous and going up at a rapid rate depending on the supply and demand of them. Many, including my generation of Gen Z, are outraged, and rightfully so. It feels like it has become increasingly harder to be financially stable, and it truly feels like the cards are stacked against us. However, I feel many complain about financial issues, yet still make some critical mistakes or have some issues with their money that really they could fix, and it would save them that much more. And after a certain point, you really just need to accept reality that things are going to continue to get expensive, and there's really nothing we can do about it. During college and some of the post-pandemic years, I became increasingly aware of this, and I told myself that in order for me to survive in this new world, that I was going to have to adapt and be as smart with my money as I could if I ever wanted some semblance of a financially successful life. Now, I'm by no means a financial advisor or some expert or YouTube guru telling you how to live your life. And I recognize that everyone's situation is different, and some don't really have these options, or they're really in a bind to survive and need to pay their bills urgently, or whatever their situation may be. But I really just wanted to offer some insight on how I save money and give my advice willing to anybody willing to listen. So without further ado, here's 6 things I do to save money in my 20s. Number 1, living with my parents / just minimizing rent costs or housing costs as much as possible. So I stated this in a very early video I made on this channel's infancy, but I wanted to update and say that still at 23 years old with a full-time job and about a year and a half on this current job and almost 2 years out of college, I still live at my childhood home with my parents and siblings and commute 45 to 50 minutes on average to my job. And this is a huge sacrifice I make to save a lot of money, as the rents in my area, being the greater Boston metro area, are absolutely ludicrous, and the price of half a house or even a condo is just absolutely comical. Even the price of housing and apartments in my own city where I live are just outrageous. Approximately about $2,000, $1,900 for a 1-bedroom, and $2,200 for a 2-bedroom. Not too bad if you got another person living with you. But I just feel like I'm nowhere close to the age where I should think about owning a house, and these rent prices are an absolute scam. And I think if you live unless you live with at least one other person and they have a decent enough income next to your own, especially with my level of experience in the early career game, where these jobs just do not pay enough for you to realistically save any kind of money for your future, that housing will be taking 50% of your checks, if not more. And I feel I'm cheating the system by living at home, where my parents will just let me live here for free so long as I show up to work and I'm not an absolute bum. And many other young people are doing the same thing as me, with approximately 1/3, according to this 2024 census data, of adults aged 18 to 34 in the US living with at least one of their parents. And honestly, man, if you have the ability to do this, do it for as long as you can, because it is such a luxury that you get. You save money on your housing. You may potentially also save money on food. I know I do, as my parents still buy groceries and cook, which also saves me some time when I come home from a long day of work and I have a meal ready for me to go. And I really just want to say I love my parents for letting me do this. And I know it's not all sunshine and rainbows living with your family when you're in your mid to early 20s, but even then, the ability for me to do it and just save the money is huge, and I try not to take it for granted. And I try not to mooch off of them too much. I still help out around the house. I do chores, cook, clean, do the food shopping. I do whatever they ask me to do, because at the end of the day, I'm still living with them and under their rules, which can be a pain at times. But at the same time, like I said, the financial advantages just outweigh everything else. And they recognize also that them allowing me to do this will help me save as much money as possible, in hopes of maybe owning some property someday, or just having a safety net of money if shit really hits the fan, I lose my job, or I take a job that's further away and gotta move away and maybe pay some rent. Whatever the case may be, they recognize that I'm gonna be saving the money, and it's definitely gonna be worth it. And I recognize not everybody has the ability to do this. I got some friends that had to move away for their family for various reasons. Either the distance to their job was just too far away, or they got strained relations with the family, and I totally understand. But whatever that situation may be, I just want to say, if you do have the ability to do this and save money on rent or housing costs as much as you can, do it, because housing is now where people spend a majority of their take-home pay, and it's just absolutely ridiculous that you got to pay all this money to basically live. And then they're wondering why people are living in their cars or whatnot. People are living on the streets. It's no wonder why. But my best advice to you is that if you are in a position to get ahead financially by biting the bullet and living with some family members, or living with a few roommates, or whatever the case may be, maybe you got some extended family that'll let you live with them for the cheap. I know people that have lived with aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever. If you got to do it, because it is absolutely worth it. And I gotta say that all the money I save from not renting, I can spend more freely, which is huge and very nice, and it just gives me some more freedom with my money. And I can also invest, put into stocks, put into my 401k, and these will pay absolute dividends in the future. So I truly stress this one above all the other things I'm about to name, but this has truly been a blessing to me in getting ahead financially. Number 2, cooking meals, packing lunches, preparing your food or drinks or whatever it may be as much as you can at home. Now, we all know those people, they're fiends for the Dunks, man, or the Starbucks. They constantly got to have that $3 to $5 coffee that's absolutely mid and plagued with sugary bullshit. Now, I personally drink coffee, but I make almost all of it at home or for free at my work, and it may not taste great, but keep in mind, I'm not really drinking it for the taste. So if you buy that crap every day, not only are you waiting in line and wasting time most likely at these places, but you're spending anywhere from like $3 to, I don't know, maybe $25 a week, which might not sound like much, but it just can add up over time. And you realize how much money you spend on one singular drink, just this coffee, and you don't even think about food. You don't even think about maybe you going out to a bar or something like that. But when you really think about it, all these things you can get, like coffee, food, takeout food, alcohol, are almost always just cheaper buying them in bulk from a store and making them at home. Now, I know you're not quite getting the same experience as going out to the coffee shop, going out to the bar, going out to a nice restaurant, but the money you save doing it absolutely is worth it, because all of this crap can add up. And even just takeout food, like I know people that get takeout food all the time, or they're always going for the DoorDash. I see it a lot, in college and stuff like that. People who can't cook, and they're spending like minimum probably $15 these days, which is an absolute scam on just one meal. And I truthfully hate eating out. I try to only do it when I'm absolutely exhausted, or I'm feeling in the mood for it. It's probably only like maybe 2 to 3 times a week max. And I even have a cafeteria at my work which has subsidized price food, so I can get like a full meal for like $10 or less, which is really nice. But even then, I try to avoid it as much as possible and pack a lunch any time I can, because even those cold leftovers or reheated leftovers or some crappy sandwich I made, even if it doesn't taste great or it's not amazing in the moment, I tell myself the money spent in the long run is just worth it because I'm spending less, and it's just a temporary feeling of that cruddy food, and it'll pass. Now, buying groceries in bulk will always be more cost effective than just eating out every single day, and it's also teaching you a critical skill, which is cooking and meal prep. And I know some people that don't even know how to do that, and I gotta say, not only will this improve your financials, it will give you some great valuable life experiences and push you out of your comfort zone. Now, I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but I've been practicing my cooking over the last few years, and I can confidently make like a delicious balanced meal for myself and my family. And I like it. It's fun. It's something I do hands-on. I know not everyone's really into cooking, but it's a good thing for you to do and just know the basics of, because you'll save money and you can provide for other people. And just as much as you can, man, do that meal prepping, pack the leftovers, pack that sandwich to work instead of spending the few bucks on that cafeteria food or getting that takeout food. It'll pay off in the long run. Number 3, canceling subscriptions that are useless / you don't use that much. Now, in today's world, escaping subscription-based models is basically becoming impossible. Like, I feel like there's a new streaming service or just some service in general of a subscription model that I learn about every single day. And I think you can justify having a few of these if you frequently use them or you really need them for your own betterment, like a gym membership, for example, or maybe some kind of membership for, I don't know, educational things that you actually use, things like that. But the thing that sucks about all subscriptions is that you own nothing and you're still content. You're lying in the pockets of somebody else to rent their media, equipment, materials, information, whatever. And the minute you stop paying, you lose that access, which just sucks. We trade convenience for these recurring expenses. I don't have many subscriptions other than my gym membership, Spotify, a few streaming services. I get most of the stuff just off whatever I mooch off my family that they pay for. I even canceled my Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and got the more like basic tier one that was cheaper because they rose the price on it, and I don't even have time to really play games like that anymore. And you realize these subscriptions, you'll never access all of the media that's even on them, and they'll just passively drain your wallet under your nose like a vampire, and they'll sneakily increase their prices as well. They'll barely give you a notice, and the next thing you know, you're paying an extra 30 to 60 bucks a year on these subscriptions, or even more. And I just highly recommend you all look at these subscriptions on your credit card statement, or you download some of these apps where you can look at these and just seriously ask yourself, how much do I use this? And is the price worth the hours a month that I use this? If the answer is no, I seriously think people should be looking into alternatives to these things. Like, for example, say you like a few shows or movies that you have an entire subscription service for. You could consider buying them outright, and then you own them forever. You can watch them or listen to them as much as you want. I've done this. I've bought a few Blu-rays of shows that I've watched in the past just because I wanted to own it and I didn't feel like paying for the sub service that it's on every single month. I own a bunch of CDs. Not only is it a cool hobby and a cool collection that I have, but I also own that music, and if Spotify or whatever ever takes it off, well, I own it and I can do whatever the fuck I want with it. But I don't know, you also got sailing the high seas. Now, do this at your own risk. Obviously, don't be going on those sketchy websites. But another thing I heard from some coworkers is going to the library. I mean, your local library is free, and what you may not know about libraries is that they do have books, but they also have whole media libraries as well, of physical media, including TV, movies, books, music, just whatever you want. They got it at the library, and you can watch things or listen to things that way as well and do it for free. Yeah, you're technically just borrowing it, but even then, better than borrowing it and paying the price every month. Another thing too, I mean, things today are so affordable because of Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or these, one man's trash is another man's treasure type of sites where you can just buy people's junk that they're looking to get rid of. Like, I've gotten so much good stuff on these sites, and some people are practically giving away like whole lots of old media that I know some people are definitely looking for. And you can just get them permanently for dirt cheap or sometimes even free. So constantly be looking for these deals. I know there's also sites like eBay and things like that too if you find reputable sellers. I bought a bunch of things off of eBay. Just look for ways that you can own more of your media and your equipment and kind of ditch these subscriptions if they're useless to you or you're not getting the most out of them. Number 4, driving an older, reliable car instead of something new or something flashy or something luxury with a worse build quality. Now, I drive a 2013 Lexus ES350, and I know that sounds quite nice, and some people would kill for this car, and I absolutely recognize that. But at the same time, you gotta realize that's a 13-year-old vehicle. But in my mind, this car does not feel like it at all. It feels like perfection to me. It's quick, it's quiet, it's extremely reliable. I've had zero issues with the damn thing. It just drives, it starts every time, and I don't have any hardware failures with it. And all the maintenance is pretty DIY friendly, easy to do. It's of course luxurious. It's got the leather seats that have held up very well and do not look their age at all. It just drives like an absolute dream, and I literally cannot say enough good things about this car. These are fantastic cars. If you find one and it's in good condition, I would definitely consider buying one of these. You might even be getting a car that's better than some that are on the new market today, and that's neither here nor there. But anyway, we bought this car at 135,000 miles, which I know sounds absolutely insane to some of you people, but what you got to realize is Lexus and Toyota are made with such a quality that this is barely broken in for this vehicle. And I now have about 187,000 miles on the thing, and no, I'm not lying. I drive it 100 miles a day most days, and it has zero issues. I maintain it meticulously and do as many repairs as I can with my dad, who has most of the tools and parts, and we can always order them from the Toyota dealership for a low price. In my opinion, new cars are an absolute scam. Major name mechanics are also an absolute scam. I do as many repairs as feasibly possible by myself, which is a fantastic learning experience, and conveniently, I also have a buddy who is knowledgeable in fixing cars and can do a lot of maintenance on these Japanese cars as well, and he's extremely reliable, and he does not charge a premium. He's only charging me, a little bit for the labor and then whatever the parts cost. It's fantastic having a person like that in your back pocket. I also go to some of these cheap local garages. Now, I'm not going to any sketchy mechanic or anything like that, but if they got good enough reviews, like, you don't need to be getting an oil change at some big name company. You could just do it at some cheap mechanic, and this will save you money. This definitely saves me money. And another thing too is, because this car is owned, I'm no debt on it at all, which is just massively liberating. I know these dealerships really want to get you to sign on the car and do a lease or do some kind of buy now, pay off as you go type of thing, which I think are just a huge scam, because the car is just losing value as soon as you drive it off the lot. Plus you got to pay for the maintenance, the gas, the insurance, the registration, all that crap anyway, and you're just paying off literally just driving it every single month, which is stupid. Now I know some of these dealerships or some of these specialized technicians are better for some of this harder maintenance on a vehicle, and I'm not saying I don't do it at all. I only really do it for stuff that can't be done at like a DIY level or like for a cheaper mechanic. But I just think, there's so much in cars now that put people into debt, and the huge money pits. Most of these cars now have worse build quality than older cars. They're much less DIY friendly. They have all these electronics in them now that are like prone to fail, or they'll like just destroy parts of the cars, or like melt these plastic parts they come with. And they essentially are treating cars like cell phones now. They're making them so eventually they break and you gotta buy new ones every so often, and they really want to put you in that debt. But unlike a cell phone, a car is a several, tens of thousands of dollars of a purchase, and not just a few $100. So my best advice to you guys: find somebody knowledgeable in cars, however you may do that. I mean, I'm sure there are people in your area that are knowledgeable of cars, and maybe take them with you to look at some older Honda or Toyota. These are the pinnacle of cars, in my opinion. They will work right from the jump, and they're really easy to fix and just do maintenance on, and that shit will last you an easy 10 years. Now, I'm going to tell a quick story. A family friend of ours used to own this 2007 Honda Accord. Now, this was a phenomenal car. It worked. Yeah, it was nothing fancy, but the thing didn't even have 100K miles on it. And my buddy used to drive it until he went to school, a little further away in a different region of the country. And his brother came to be the driver of this car mainly. Now, his brother thought the car wasn't cool and wanted something more flashy and just something to show off. Now, his brother made a critical mistake in buying some BMW with already more than 100,000 miles that the neighbor down the street was selling for cheap. Now, first of all, BMW, in my opinion, or any German or American car, have fun dealing with those. They be charging a premium on those, and I feel like half the time they're not even built that great. I've had some friends with German cars that just suck, or they fail eventually, or you got to take them to these specialized mechanics to get all the maintenance done. They're just a money pit. Never buy a car to flex it, kids, because this kid bought this BMW and it was just plagued from issues the moment they got it, and they sold the Accord, which would have been a much more reliable vehicle, all for show. And the kid didn't even keep the car for a couple of years. He ended up selling it for a loss eventually and realizing it was just a horrible mistake. So please, a car at your early stages of life, or even whenever, man, like, it should not be something to flex unless money is just an object to you. Like, some of these people be showing off these cars and flexing it and thinking it won't die, and that's just a cope, man. Like, showing off your car is a capitalist scam, in my opinion. And I really feel like your vehicle, the main purpose of it should just be reliability from getting from point A to point B. Unless you are Moneybags McGee over here, please don't be buying some car that is well above your means. Number 5, I still wear clothes and shoes that I've had since like high school or college. I've had these for years, and I've just kind of realized over time that buying clothes and shoes really should come down to the quality of them, and not buying some hype brand or some kind of big trend or something like that. Now, when I was in early college and maybe a little bit of late high school, I was kind of a wannabe hype beast. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to maybe impress some women, which obviously was not going to happen. But I really wanted all these expensive shoes, like Air Jordans, Yeezys were big at the time. Just whatever was big, I wanted it. And I wanted all those hype beast brands like Supreme, Fear of God, all that garbage. And I even bought a few pieces of it for, hundreds of dollars per whatever I bought. And I ended up even selling a few of them because I just realized over time that they really weren't for me. I would be so self-conscious about wearing those out too and getting them dirty and stuff like that, that it just really was not worth it to me. And I've only kept like a handful of the items from that era of my life. And if I did want a pair of some Hypebeast shoes or something, I ended up just getting the Chinese replicas of it, and some of which I still own today and still wear. And people give them compliments. Like, guys, it really doesn't fucking matter. I'm gonna be honest with you. Nowadays, I just be wearing clothes that are comfortable, good quality, built to last, and they fit my body type and my style. You know, that's all you need. You really do not need Supreme boxers. You don't need fucking all this bullshit, man. Like, you don't need to buy something just because it's got a brand on it. That is the biggest scam of how to waste your money, and I feel like people shouldn't be doing it, man. Like, Hypebeast clothes have just fallen off a cliff, and I feel like that whole market has just died, and I'm very happy it has, because people just can't afford this shit anymore. I even had a buddy in high school, and I'm still friends with this guy today, but he would be wearing like Air Monarchs and all these baggy clothes or whatever, and people used to give him shit. But now, like, shoes like that are low-key in style. And I feel like now people are prioritizing much more function over fashion, which is fantastic. And I feel like today also, like, there's so many good places to buy clothes, good clothes for a good price. Like, when I was coming up in high school, middle school, like, you really couldn't find much at some of these stores, but now I feel like they've actually exploded with just getting some decent quality clothes. And I'm talking about places like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Kohl's, Target. Like, they actually got clothes now that I can go to these stores, show up with, and be like, oh yeah, this is decent, and the price isn't absolutely gonna give me an aneurysm. I seriously think these mainstream big box stores, department stores, not all of them, but a few of them are actually selling good stuff. And I feel like you can go to any one of these now and get a deal. Yeah, you might not be wearing the latest Bape, but who the fuck cares, man? As long as you like the clothes, don't give a fuck about impressing these other people, man. And you can also get like business casual clothes and stuff like that for work too, for a decent price as well. Another thing I highly recommend is thrifting. Thrifting is having a huge surge in the last few years. I know some buddies that literally do it full time and try to sell stuff, but let me tell you, man, thrifting, you can find some absolute steals on good quality clothes. Now, I'm not saying all of it's great, and some of it you might gotta put through the spin cycle on the wash machine a few times, but I'm dead serious, man. Like, you could find some absolute steals on great clothing at these thrift stores. And it's not just the stores, man, but they now got all these websites online like Etsy, Depop, eBay even. You know, you can go on and just purchase all these used clothes that are still in good condition that people can get use out of. There are more options than ever before to dress decent and dress not like a bum wearing them Walmart clothes. Hell, even Walmart got some fire clothes, but like, there are so many options now to get decent clothing that you just shouldn't even be buying these hyped up brands. Like, no one gives a fuck if your shirt says Versace on it. Like, no one cares, dude. You're not living in LA, you're not living in the Diamond District. Nobody gives a fuck on the street, man. Do not buy a shirt for a logo. And at the same time, on the opposite end of the spectrum, don't be buying that fast fashion crap. Now, I'm talking about shit like Temu, AliExpress, all those Indian and Chinese sites. Like, don't be buying shit off of them. I know it might look enticing because it's like, oh, I see this thing that it looks like very expensive for cheap, but half the time the quality is ass. You wash it once or twice and the thing is just cooked. It shrinks, or it just completely shrivels up, or like gets torn apart. Don't be buying crap off of Shein. I don't know. I just think all those fast fashion sites are a scam, and you should not be buying clothing off of them neither. But yeah, that's my best advice to you guys, is just buy some clothes within your budget. It's more accessible than ever these days, and just be buying good quality stuff. And number 6, make a budget. Now, this is something that I really pushed recently, and some friends were kind of begging me to do it. And I even had the idea to do it for over a year, but because I was living at home, I really didn't think about it as much because I didn't have as many expenses to track. But then you see some of these credit card statements you get month in and month out, and you're like, okay, I really do need to keep a better track on my spending. But seriously, guys, there's a million templates online, a million apps or whatever's you can use. Get a budget. Like, you should know how much money you make a month and where that money is going. What are some recurring expenses you have, whether they be your rent, your gas, your groceries, your utilities, whatever it may be, how much money you spend on food, how much money you spend on your car, how much money you spend going out, how much money you spend on clothes, whatever that may be, your hobbies, anything. Like, you should know how much money you spend on that, because if you ever want some semblance of setting financial goals, you got to be able to track where that money was going in the first place. Like, I feel like we all buy some shit sometimes, and then we look back and see that like, maybe we'll swipe the credit card and be like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. But then once that statement comes in, we'll be like, oh god damn, I spent this much on some stupid shit. And you really need that budget to keep yourself in check and set some goals and say, all right, this month I want to spend X amount on this category and save this amount of money so I can advance financially. I feel like it's one of the only ways you can do that. And if you don't have some discipline in the slightest with that crap, your money will just be gone. And I'm not saying you need to spend $0 on things you want or some of your interests. And obviously your needs come first. You need to pay your bills, but I feel like you need to treat yourself within reason. I.e., if you really want something bad but it's expensive, you got to be able to say, okay, well, I need to save X amount of money per month to reasonably afford this. Because if you're just spending money willy-nilly, it's gone, man. And you really feel worse about yourself. I feel like if you actually have the intention of tracking your spending and knowing where that money is going, you'll just feel better about it, and you'll be able to set some more financially savvy goals and just be able to explain, okay, here's where I'm really screwing myself over, and here are some categories I can improve and can cut back my spending on. And this is one last little bonus message I'll leave you guys with. But look, make sacrifices. You need to live below your means as much as possible. I understand things are absolutely overpriced these days, and it is ridiculous. And I'm not saying that I am not completely against this, but like I said, we need to accept reality, man. We have seriously been dealt a bad hand in the cost of living, but I feel like we can adapt. I feel like in the end, this will make ourselves more stronger and resilient than perhaps any other generation that this world has ever seen. And one day, when we are in power and we see the suffering that our generation went through, we can finally adapt some laws and get these things under control to make these necessities more abundant and affordable to these future generations, wherever they may be. And until then, man, just live below your means. Do everything you can to save money and financially survive. That is the goal of today. And if you make your life hard now, it'll be that much easier on your future self when you are weaker. You do not want to work as much. You do not want to put yourself through it as much. And you want more of that stable life. Guys, it has been Maelstrom. Thank you for watching the video. If you like this, please consider leaving a like on the video. Voice some of your thoughts below. Do any of these you agree with? Do you do any of these? Are there any other things you would suggest to be more financially savvy? And please consider subscribing to this channel for more content like this, as well as just some rants or commentary over some gameplay like you see here. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.